My name is Maleah and I create content for fitness and lifestyle. The start of my fitness journey was probably about 6-7 years ago. I used to rock climb, and then from then I wanted to get into strength training, and then from then it led to wanting to build more muscle. When I was rock climbing, I wasn't in shape. I was probably considered scubby, which is like skinny and chubby. I never thought about like wanting to look a certain way. So I figured that if I become lighter, then I would be able to climb better. So then I started getting into cardio. I became like a cardio bunny. It went from rock climbing to some strength training, but it wasn't like heavy weights at the time. It was just picking up free weights and then utilizing whatever we had at the gym, and then reading about keto. That was the first thing that I learned about during that time. So when I learned about that, I cut out carbs completely, and then I trained like how I was, but then I added more cardio, and then that was when I got to my leanest without having muscle. It was like just really skinny. So at the time I was about 100 pounds, and in terms of my health, I felt like I had a lot of energy, but I just like didn't realize that I was so skinny at the time because everybody was telling me that I was skinny. It was the first time I've ever heard that I was skinny because, you know, my original body was, like I said, stubby. I wanted to start building more muscle because rock climbing requires you to be lighter, but you also want to become stronger. So I wanted to get into muscle building at the time. So I started training compound lifts and then learning form. And from keto dieting, that's when I started learning more about macronutrients. And then from macronutrients, I started incorporating that into my lifestyle because I really wanted to gain more muscle, even though at the time I thought it was kind of like scary to gain more weight. But that was when I started documenting more of my journey on gaining muscle. Throughout that journey of like, you know, getting stronger, building muscle, I felt like it was just never enough for me because I always had different things that I was trying. So I guess people can call it yo-yo dieting, but it wasn't something that I publicly shared about my diet. People always ask me like what kind of diet I was doing because my diets were kind of extreme. I was doing like intermittent fasting. On top of that, I was doing fasted cardio, and they were like HIIT cardio. They do heavy lifting sessions. So my training was pretty gruesome back then. And by the end of the day, I was always like burnt out. So I wanted to find ways to incorporate having more energy. And I knew that even though I had energy at the gym, I didn't have energy to do anything else. Even though I was on like this IFM diet where I was counting my protein, carbs, and fat, and I felt like that was like the most sustainable lifestyle for me at the time. I think counting the numbers was really stressful for me because at times I felt like I wasn't eating enough, or other times I felt like I was eating too much, and then I had this like battle with my own body image. Even though people were saying I looked good, I didn't feel like I did. So I think I was dealing with like body dysmorphia because even though, yes, like when I would take pictures on some days, I'd be like, oh, I look good. But then other days, like by the end of the night, like I would eat so much, I would feel bloated. But I had this like weird balance with my diet where like I would feel guilty for eating certain types of food, and then I would feel good about eating certain types of food, and it was just like a battle every single day. And because of that, I was like, well, if I just eat all vegan, I would never feel bad. So I got into eating vegan for 2 years, which was cool. But then when I started eating vegan, I started losing weight again. And I wasn't sure if it was like both muscle and fat at the same time, but I started losing a lot of weight again. And then it got to a point where I lost so much weight where I hit 110 or something at one point after eating vegan for 2 years. And then that was when I think that I started having a really bad relationship with food, because it wasn't that I lost weight because I was eating better, but I was just eating less. So intuitively I was eating less, and the whole point of my journey with dieting was to try to eat more intuitively. And at the time it wasn't intuitively eating like, you know, a good balanced diet. It was just eating less. What I realized when it came to my diet was that every time I was at my lowest weight, so when I was 100 pounds and when I was 110 pounds on the vegan diet and on the keto diet, I think that my hormones were really bad because I wasn't having my periods. And even though like for a lot of girls, like not having their period would be like a great thing, like missing their periods. But for me, I knew that it wasn't good because I was getting older and I was still missing my periods at like 27, 28, 29. Like sometimes I would go 3 to 6 months without having it, and then other times I would go like a year without having it. And then people were telling me like that's not good for your bones when you're getting older, and it's also not good for your hormones, and it's also not good when you're like, you know, trying to have a baby or something. So that's when I looked into it more, and then intuitively I started eating more. But then the bad thing about that was I didn't know how much I was supposed to eat. So because my body was starved for so long, that I didn't know that my body was starved for that long, even though I was like lean and I looked good, my body was completely starved. So when I started eating more, I couldn't stop eating more. So I knew that at that point my body was just like, I need food. And then because of that, my hormones were just like out of control. I took blood tests and I started breaking out in hives because my body was under so much stress. And then I started getting like cystic acne, which I had all over my face. And it was just like painful acne, and I was trying to figure out what it was, and it was just because my blood levels were off. And that was due to like, you know, not having any body fat at all, to like trying to get all this body fat back and regulating my hormones again. I think at the time when I was vegan and I was losing so much weight, I was probably eating like 1,000 calories, maybe less, every single day, which is like not good at all. So when I was gaining weight again, my body was probably able to easily consume 3,000 calories a day, which was beyond like normal. And when I started gaining weight, it was like, not in my eyes, I wouldn't say it was healthy weight, but I knew that it had to be done because my body became this weight that I was so uncomfortable with. I think I went from 110 all the way to 135, 136, which is like 20 pounds more or more. And then it was not a comfortable weight that I was at, because not only was I like hormonally off, my acne was like going crazy, but I felt like I didn't look good at that point either. I felt like I started gaining weight on my face and I could see it, and it was just an uncomfortable time for me. But I just knew that it was a process that had to be done because I was aware of it and I documented it and I wrote, you know, how that journey went down, and that helped me just understand what my body was going through. And then from that point on, I was like, okay, I was really being intuitive at that point, because before I thought I was being intuitive, but it was just, I was just eating less. Okay, so right now where I'm at, I feel the best. It probably been like 1.5 years since the journey of like, you know, actually having a healthier relationship with food. I would probably say it took me 1.5 years. And what I mean by having a healthy relationship with food is finding this set point where my body was not wanting so much more because, you know, I was on this diet, or wanting less because I wanted to look skinnier. I wanted to just like know what it was, where my body was like, okay, this is where I'm good at, and just maintaining like the normal activity level that I had without having to like compensate or overcompensate by exercising more, or maybe not going to the gym as much and focusing on my diet. So I wanted to just have a healthy balance where I'm not like, oh, I need to go to the gym 6-7 days out of the week, or I need to eat less because, you know, I'm not training this day, so I have to eat less, or I'm training heavier this day, I know I'm training heavier, so I have to eat so much more. So I needed to find that balance where I was like, I eat the same without thinking about it. So when I was receiving the compliments, you know, when I was getting more muscle, or like when I looked shredded, that internally I didn't feel good, even though that was something that I portrayed, because, you know, I'm always trying to like put on like a positive image. But, you know, behind the scenes of it all, it's just a lot that you have to sacrifice, or a lot that you do to like, you look a certain way, or you know, if you're trying to have like a social life, that social life is completely different, because, you know, you can't eat like how everyone eats, and deep down inside you look at their plate and you're just like, I want that, but you're eating like, you know, a salad or something. So yeah, it comes at a cost. So whatever journey you're on, there's always gonna be like your own challenge and your own battle that you battle through to look a certain way, but it's not always worth the sacrifice. So if you guys want to see more, make sure to like this video, leave a comment, and subscribe. And for all your apparel and your supplement needs, make sure to visit barbellbrigade.com and use code JAMA for 10% off.